Get off my dock before I call the sheriff. Those words came out of my mouth on a Saturday that was supposed to be nothing but quiet water and coffee steam. I was standing on the teak planks I had refinished myself, facing 5 strangers who thought my boat was community property. The woman in front, Eleanor Hargrove, had been president of the Lakeshore Point Homeowners Association for 7 straight years. She held a clipboard like a warrant and pointed at me as if I had broken a law older than the lake itself. 6 weeks later, she would be gone, her son barred from the neighborhood, and $28,000 would leave her bank account on its way to the association treasury. But that morning, I only knew the sun was warm, the bass were jumping, and my property line ended exactly where the water started. I bought the house for the dock, not the granite counters. 15 years in financial planning had taught me to read every line of a contract twice and keep the marked-up copy in 4 places. When the realtor walked me down the floating walkway 2 years ago, she tapped the brass plate that read Marina Lot M9 and said, "This one is grandfathered outside HOA jurisdiction. Recorded in 1998. Only 3 like it in the whole subdivision." I closed the next day. Lakeshore Point is 47 homes around a spring-fed lake the color of strong tea after rain. The association keeps the streets swept, the lamps glowing, and the covenants enforced. Monthly dues are $450, which buys trimmed hedges and speed bumps that scrape the undercarriage of any truck moving faster than a golf cart. Most rules are reasonable. Paint from the approved palette, fences under 6 feet, no noise after 10. I never minded because none of them reached my 40 feet of private shoreline. Margaret Ellison, 71, past president, and sharp as winter air, pulled me aside at a block party chili cook-off not long after I moved in. "Your deed is ironclad," she said, stirring her bowl like she was testing the temperature of the lake. "But keep the survey handy. Authority hates a boundary it can't redraw." I laughed then. I stopped laughing 6 weeks ago. Eleanor runs meetings with a gavel and Robert's Rules of Order. She schedules every agenda item down to the minute and counts votes before hands are raised. Efficiency is her brand, but there is always a half-second pause after she wins a motion, a savoring. Last month, a newcomer planted knockout roses without architectural review. Eleanor issued a $500 citation the same afternoon. The roses came out by sunset. She smiled the way a chess player smiles when the opponent finally sees the trap. 3 weeks before the incident on the dock, she paused while I pressure-washed the hull. "Fine vessel, Richard," she said, using my first name though we had never exchanged more than nods. "Must be nice having all that water to yourself." I kept scrubbing. She lingered long enough for the silence to feel like an inspection, then walked off. The following Tuesday, someone asked about lake access for the 4th of July picnic. Eleanor tapped her pen. "We have underutilized waterfront assets that could serve the greater good." No names, but every head swiveled toward my cove. Margaret, 2 rows behind me, whispered, "Watch your back." Friday evening I saw her son, Tyler, 23, still on her insurance, leaning against his lifted pickup with 3 friends and a 12-pack. One of them pointed at my dock. Tyler laughed loud enough to carry across the water. I made a note and went inside. Saturday, I planned an early run for base. I had the rods rigged and the cooler iced when footsteps thumped the boards. Heavy, careless, multiple. I turned. Eleanor in front, Tyler behind her, 3 men in pressed polos trailing like a campaign entourage. "Richard, we need the boat for an hour," Eleanor said, bright as lemonade. "These gentlemen are with County Trust. A quick tour could secure a grant for the children's playground." One banker reached for the gunnel. I stepped between him and the rail. "I'm taking her out. Private marina, private vessel." Eleanor's smile thinned. "It's for the community. You can fish any morning." The banker's foot lifted to the deck. I raised my phone. "Leave in 30 seconds, or I dial 911 for trespassing." Tyler snorted. "My mom runs this place." 20 seconds. The bankers backed off. Eleanor stood rigid another beat, then spun and marched away. Tyler followed, muttering. I sat on the bench, pulse steady, and opened the survey on my phone. Lot M9, exclusive perpetual easement. I screenshot it, created a folder labeled legal, and called Margaret. "It's begun," I said. She sighed like a woman who had seen the movie before. "Document everything." I did. The security system I installed 6 months earlier, 4 cameras, motion-triggered, cloud backup, caught the entire exchange in high definition. I burned 3 copies to separate drives before lunch. Sunday, an envelope waited in the mailbox. Official letterhead, violation 4129, failure to support community initiative, $500 due in 14 days. Eleanor's signature looked freshly sharpened. I read it in the driveway, groceries warming in the trunk. There is no covenant clause requiring loan of personal property. I searched the PDF twice to be sure, then drafted a polite email citing sections 7C and 12A, attached the deed, and hit send with read receipt requested. Monday, the neighborhood app exploded. Eleanor posted at 11:47 p.m. Some residents forget that community means shared sacrifice. Refusing reasonable requests harms us all. 32 comments by Dawn, most echoing her line. Margaret's single rebuttal, property law is not a popularity contest, was deleted by 8. I screenshot every page. Tuesday, another citation, $750. Vessel lacks association registration decal. No such decal exists for private marinas. I left voicemail, sent email, copied my attorney. No reply. Wednesday, I intercepted Eleanor in the clubhouse lot. Withdraw the notices. They have no basis. She tilted her head. The board voted. I have the minutes. No vote occurred. Her eyes flickered. You're new here, Richard. Cooperation keeps property values high. Think about your neighbors. I am. They're watching you invent rules. She stepped closer. Lawyers are expensive. And even if you win, you still live here. Tyler and his friends love your dock. She added, almost casual. They talk about fishing off it all the time. She drove away. I upgraded to 24/7 monitoring that afternoon. Thursday, the emails began, 15 by noon, 23 by night, each citing a new phantom violation. Dock disrupts sight lines. Rigging noise after hours. Cabin lights constitute light pollution. Every message copied the entire board and half the subdivision. I answered each with covenant excerpts, decibel logs, time-stamped photos. The fines climbed. 500, 750, 1,000. Total fiction, total paper trail. Friday, the community forum became a nightly show trial. Eleanor posted after midnight, so her supporters shaped the narrative before coffee. Margaret's counters vanished. Neighbors who once borrowed my hedge trimmer now crossed the street. Isolation is a strategy, not an accident. Saturday, my mailbox wore fresh red paint. Selfish. The front door camera missed it by 6 inches. I filed a report, installed 2 more lenses, and set motion alerts to maximum. Margaret called. Tyler smashed a mailbox last year after the owner fought a tree ordinance. Same paint, same sloppy letters. No one would testify. I opened a new spreadsheet. Date, incident, cost, witness. Monday announced an emergency meeting, community standards, member conduct. I RSVP'd yes and spent the day building slides, deed, covenants, email chains, fine ledger. I rehearsed until the words felt like breathing. Tuesday, the clubhouse overflowed. Eleanor opened with a slideshow of my dock and a list of 8 violations. She framed refusal as moral failure. 3 prepared speakers rose to scold selfishness. Then she turned to me. Richard, care to respond? I walked to the front with a folder thick as a phone book. Lot M, 9 is excluded from HOA governance. Here is the recorded easement. I held up the survey for the back row. None of these citations appear in the covenants. I have asked for statutory reference 17 times. Silence. The room stilled. My phone buzzed. Motion alert, camera 3. For figures on my dock. Tyler pried the cabin hatch with a crowbar. I dialed 911, speaker on. Trespass in progress, video evidence. I held the live feed high. Tyler's face filled the screen, metal scraping lock. Gasps rippled. Eleanor went white. That's my son. He was born Saturday, I said. Sheriff is 12 minutes out. I left. Half the room followed. Deputy Alvarez met me at the gate. Tyler tried the HOA card. Alvarez cut him off. Property owner decides access. Move. They left muttering. I photographed fresh gouges in the teak, added the case number to the log. The emails doubled. The fines tripled. Another emergency meeting was called. I skipped it. Instead, I reviewed 6 months of archived footage frame by frame. At 2:17 a.m. 3 weeks prior, floodlights caught Tyler and two friends 10 feet from my boat. Tyler pointed at the camera lens and retreated. 4 minutes later, the same trio smashed the treasurer's side mirror and tagged a garage door. Audio. Mom said this one complained about the noise. Clear faces, clear motive, clear conspiracy. I invited the treasurer, Alan Pierce, over at dawn. He watched the clips, face cycling through shock and fury. She threatened my landscaping if I didn't abstain, he said. I thought it was bluff. He agreed to stand with me. I turned the files over to Deputy Alvarez. She forwarded them to the district attorney. I scheduled the special meeting the bylaws allowed any 12 owners to demand. Agenda item, board misconduct and financial review. The clubhouse that night held 41 households. I projected the deed, the fines, the email storm, the vandalism, the midnight raids. Alan confirmed the intimidation. The garage owner stood, voice cracking. That was my door. I revealed the treasurer's mirror. Then the financials, $47,000 in the improvement fund, $12,000 paid to TS Consulting, Tyler Hargrove, proprietor, incorporated 8 months ago, no deliverables, no contracts, for payments structured under the $2,000 threshold to avoid board vote. The third board member, Ruth, stood. Eleanor told me those were routine maintenance. She seconded Margaret's motion to remove Eleanor for breach of fiduciary duty. 36 hands rose. 2 opposed. Motion carried. Deputy Alvarez informed Eleanor the DA would contact her regarding financial irregularities. She gathered her clipboard and left without a word. Tyler followed. The door shut like a period at the end of a long, ugly sentence. Charges came quickly, for counts criminal mischief, trespass, conspiracy. Tyler took a plea, 200 hours community service, full restitution, anger management, and permanent ban from Lakeshore Point. Eleanor settled the civil suit for $28,000 and resigned any future board eligibility. The moving truck pulled away before sunrise. No one waved. Margaret was elected president. Alan stayed on as treasurer. Expenses over $500 now require dual signatures and public posting. The covenants were amended to state in plain English what the 1998 survey already had. Private marinas are private. The lake exhaled. 6 weeks later, I took the boat out alone. The water was glass, the sky wide. A young family watched from the community pier. The boy asked if the compass always pointed north. I told him it did, even when people tried to spin the needle. He grinned and ran back to his father. Their laughter skipped across the surface and settled somewhere near the horizon. That night I sat on the dock with coffee gone cold. The moon laid a silver road from my transom to the far shore. I thought of Eleanor, not as the villain in the story, but as the woman who started believing the lake belonged to the clipboard. Power bends slowly until no one remembers the original shape. The binder of evidence stays in the cabinet, spine cracked, pages quiet. Truth does not need an audience once it has been recorded. What do you think? When everyday people face petty tyrants, is meticulous documentation the real weapon, or does it take something louder? Have you ever stood your ground against a bully with a title? Drop your story and your stance in the comments.